Hi everyone, my name is Lexi Hansford, and today I'm presenting on a major environmental event with global significance, the 2025 International Court of Justice Advisory Opinion on States' Obligations in Respect of Climate Change. This event is important because for the first time, the world's highest court explained what countries must do under international law to respond to climate change. Today, I'll explain the event itself and connect it to two major environmental concepts: the carbon cycle and ecosystem services. In July 2025, the International Court of Justice released an advisory opinion requested by the United Nations. It asked the court to clarify whether countries have legal obligations to prevent and address climate change. The ICJ concluded that nations do have a duty to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, protect vulnerable environments, and support adaptation efforts around the world. This opinion is historic because it combines environmental science and international law. It recognizes that climate change is not just a political issue, it's a scientific and human rights issue. The ICJ states that failing to reduce emissions and protect natural systems actively harms people's right to a healthy environment. Let's start with the first module concept, the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle naturally moves carbon between the atmosphere, oceans, soil, and living organisms. Human activity, especially burning fossil fuels, adds massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere faster than ecosystems can absorb it. Scientific research shows that this human-driven imbalance is the main driver of climate change. The ICJ directly references this scientific reality. The court states that because climate change is caused by emissions that accumulate in the atmosphere, countries have an obligation to reduce those emissions. Their reasoning reflects carbon cycle science. If emissions continue at the current rate, global temperatures will rise, increasing extreme weather, sea level rise, and ecosystem collapse. The second concept is ecosystem services, which are the natural benefits that ecosystems provide to humans. Forests, wetlands, and oceans regulate climate by storing carbon, moderating temperatures, reducing flooding, and protecting biodiversity. Ecosystem-based adaptation strategies rely on strengthening natural systems to make communities more resilient to climate impacts. The ICJ emphasized that protecting ecosystems is part of countries' legal responsibilities. The court explained that ecosystems stabilize the climate and protect human communities, so letting them degrade is a failure to meet international environmental obligations. This shows how scientific concepts like ecosystem services are now shaping legal expectations globally. Another impact is human rights. The court recognized that climate change threatens lives, health, food security, and access to clean water. This aligns with research showing that environmental degradation impacts human well-being. The ICJ states that nations must protect their citizens and future generations by acting on climate change. This ruling affects every country. It strengthens climate agreements, gives vulnerable nations tools to demand accountability, and pushes governments to invest in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, better waste management, and ecosystem restoration. In other words, the court's decision connects directly to environmental science, reducing emissions, improving land management, and protecting ecosystem functions. In summary, the 2025 ICJ Climate Advisory Opinion combines global policy with environmental science. It shows that understanding the carbon cycle and ecosystem services is essential for making responsible political decisions. By recognizing both scientific evidence and human rights, the ICJ sets new expectations for how countries must respond to climate change. Thank you for listening.